Today is a doozy. You're gonna love this podcast, Lauren.
Ooh, doozy.
It's a doozy. Did you breastfeed the twinnies?
No, I did not.
Not even a little bit. You
Not
were
even.
just like, we're skipping this.
Because no one told me I could. I was basically told, like, no, twin moms can't breastfeed. It's not possible.
I hate people. Well, guys, I'm Natalie Diaz, founder of Twiniversity, author of What to Do When You're Having Two Mama Twins, blah, blah, blah. That is Lauren Oak, the Swiss Army knife of twin families. And together, we are a band of misfit toys.
Yes.
And we are the people, I think truthfully, no joke, we are probably two of the most knowledgeable people about twin parenting in this country.
You might be right. You might be a little more knowledgeable than me. I think we complement each other. Like, you're the yin to my yang. Like, I know stuff and you know stuff, and together we fit together.
Yes, I think so. This is what I live, eat, and breathe for 13 years.
Yeah.
Is twin parenting.
Yeah.
If anybody had a hobby for 13 years, they would be more knowledgeable on that, no matter what it was.
Yes.
This certainly, but John called this my hobby when I started.
Oh, I remember.
God bless him.
But you made it into a job, a dream job, a company.
Who knew? I certainly didn't. I'm telling you to this day, that was not the intention. That was not my plan. I had a whole plan of what I was going to do with my life. Initially, when I was growing up, my first job that I thought I was going to have was a lawyer, but only because there was a commercial on TV that always talked about lawyers, and that influenced me early. And then if I say, as I got older, I thought maybe, believe it or not, and you might or might not know this. Do you remember when we went to the Queen's Museum that I said I always wanted to be an astronaut?
No.
I actually did. I always wanted to go to space camp.
Oh, no, that scared me.
Oh, no, I
Keep
was
me on Earth.
fascinated.
I want to stay on Earth. I don't like heights, so maybe that. And I don't like flying.
I love flying. I love an airplane. Give me a 15-hour flight. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I need to have like 4 cocktails before I even walk onto the plane.
But that's just a regular Tuesday. So then I wanted to become, after that, what else did I really? Oh, then when I went to college, I was going into restaurant management because my family owns all these restaurants, and it just made logical sense that I would work at the restaurant because basically it's like my legacy. And then I realized that my family made me have more anxiety and go into often murderous rages where I, thank God, never actually murdered anybody, and went into travel, and then did my luxury African travel for a few years, and then landed here at Twiniversity after my twins went to kindergarten.
Travel leaded you here.
But can I tell you the reason why I think that Twiniversity is successful is because when I worked for the African travel company, I worked in marketing.
Yeah.
So marketing is marketing. So if you know how to market something, whether it's African travel or twin parenting information, it's marketing.
Yep.
Which is why I think we get so lucky to have so many good partners, is because they really appreciate my marketing chops.
You know how to do it.
I do, but I know how to do it in a way that's fun, that people actually enjoy. I'm not going to bore you with something ridiculous. I want us to have fun. So speaking of that, today we have a fun episode. Ooh. And it has to do with breastfeeding.
Okay.
And since we're both lactation consultants,
yes,
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm not setting you up with this question.
I'm a little nervous.
But this is something that I would say within our industry of lactation, that this might be a controversial topic.
Okay.
What do you think might be controversial within our industry?
Using formula.
Using formula, that's a good one. That's not what this is about today. But what are the controversial things in lactation? Besides, like, the formula is like so ridiculous. Like, everybody goes crazy. But as twin families, we know that we got to do what we got to do.
Controversial one. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that there are some lactation consultants out there that are on a constant soapbox about how you should never have a freezer stash.
Well, none at all.
Nope, none at all.
I don't like the people who like hoard a whole entire freezer full of milk because I feel like they're never going to use that. But I always encourage them to have like 3-4 days worth of in there.
I also agree that having a little cushion
Cushion, yeah.
is very awesome.
Yes, but if you're having like gallons, like
Yes.
you're never going to go through it unless you're going to
Okay.
literally take a bath personally in it twice or
Now,
3 times.
here's what I'm going to tell you. In our country, right? Because now we have another international guest today. In our country, it is so difficult to donate breast milk.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Holy moly guacamole.
You have to like
It
jump
is.
through hoops and basically go and pump in a place.
Yep. It's really every state has different regulations. Every insurance company, even if you were to use donor milk,
Yep.
has different regulations. It is so crazy town. However, in Canada, it's not as difficult. So, what if I told you that you had a secret ability to overproduce?
Oh, I know some people who do that.
You do. So there are some people out there that, yes, some have very difficult time even making enough milk for one, let alone two.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have the moms. It's kind of like Goldilocks,
Yeah.
right? So you could be a Goldilocks breastfeeder. So this one is, I have too little. This one is, I have too much. And then this is, I'm just right.
Yep.
Most people could get into the just right situation if they need
Yes.
to. But there are some people out there that just have too much.
Yep. Yep.
And that is what we are talking today. Today, we are talking to Brittany Forsyth, and she is an overproducer.
Okay.
So she is from Canada, and she lives on a wonderful farm. And she is just somebody that I think I'm just fascinated with. Okay, so I will tell you that she has donated just tons and tons and tons of milk.
It's amazing.
It is totally, totally unbelievable. And what I love about her is that she saw that this was happening. And instead of saying, okay, let me, slow down or let me start, change what I'm doing here, she's like, I could donate this to babies in the NICU. I could donate this to families who need it.
Yep.
And I am just absolutely obsessed with her. And I think it's such a smart, generous thing to do. If this was anybody else in our country, if I said, listen, unless you have somebody that you could give milk onto the table, maybe don't consider it. But for you, how do you feel about that as somebody who couldn't or didn't breastfeed?
I think it's amazing because it's a gift that it's just a gift, a natural gift that you can't necessarily, you can't create that. I mean, there's formula and that's great. But giving breast milk to feed someone else's baby is amazing.
Isn't it crazy? I think it's so admirable.
Yeah.
And she has tons, and not just milliliters. She would donate ounces and ounces and ounces. And I love talking to her, and her whole outlet on this whole, not her whole outlet, her whole outlook on this was so healthy and wonderful. And it definitely feeds her soul as she's helping feed her other babies. Her babies are so delicious and chubby and sweet. And I got to see them because we always tape these with video. And Lauren, they were so cute. Oh, with their rolls on rolls on rolls. I can't even tell you. And I want you to talk to, I want you to listen to her today, and just really, what an absolutely unbelievable mom. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here she is, Miss Brittany Forsyth. Oh my gosh, Brittany, I'm so glad that you are here. I'm very thrilled to talk to you. I'm fascinated. I found you on Instagram, which I have to say, I normally don't get super stalky, but I'm just so in love with what your mission is. So I can't wait for everybody to learn more about you. But first, my most important factor is that you're one of us. You're a mama of twins and you have a little baby right in front of you right now.
I do.
Is this your
This
baby
is
A or B?
Okay, so we call him baby A. I live right on the border of two different provinces, and in Saskatchewan, they identify them differently than they do in the province that we birthed them in. So all along, we called him baby A, but then we got to Manitoba, which is a different province, and we gave birth, and they called him baby B. And so it was all backwards, but we just go by the one, like the correct term as we identified them the whole pregnancy.
Okay.
And so it's a little confusing, but he's baby A.
That is confusing. Why is I've never really heard that. So they're determining, are they determining who was closest to the exit as baby A, and then in another place who comes out first? Like, how did it get switched?
Yes. Yeah. So in Manitoba, they do whoever comes out first is baby A. And then here they do whoever's on the left side is baby A.
All right.
Of like
well, there
in
you
your
go.
womb.
So they're
Yeah.
reading. It's basically like a reading situation from left to right. That's really fascinating. All right. So look at that. I did not know that. All right. So we got that. Now, I know that you have a singleton, and I know that you had a great breastfeeding experience with your singleton. And it definitely inspired you and kind of prepped you, right? That was like your, God bless you, little baby.
Yeah.
It prepped you for now. When you had your first child, when you had your singleton, did you expect to have the breastfeeding experience that you did? Like, how did you even start that journey, and how did you end up pumping and having so much milk to donate for the baby? Did you know that this was something that you wanted to do, like when you thought about breastfeeding? So many questions at once.
I knew at the start that I wanted to breastfeed. I remember going to our prenatal class and the girl asking, "Are you planning to breastfeed?" And people were like, "Yeah, if I can." I just was like, "Yes, like I am. I know I'm going to." But when I first had my daughter, it was definitely a challenge. I remember the nurse like grabbing my boob, trying to help me get it in my daughter's mouth and get latch. And it was so hard. And so eventually I tried a nipple shield. The lactation consultant gave us a nipple shield in the hospital to try. So I ended up using that for about 2 weeks before I finally took it off. She was just like choking on my milk so bad, and like would unlatch and just like wouldn't latch, or she was just too sleepy. Like she wasn't having a great time. So we had a struggle the first couple weeks, and then everything was super good. From the bat, I always would nurse her on one side, and I'd put my Haka on the other side. So that's just like a silicone pump, and I would collect like 4 or 5 ounces every feeding, and I just started putting in the freezer. And eventually we had way too much, and my fiance is like, "We need to throw some out," and I'm like, "We are not throwing this out. Like, this is liquid gold." And so I looked into donating it because I was like, what else am I going to do? I'm never going to use this much. So going through the process, you had to do screening and blood work, and your doctor had to fill out a form for you. So we did all that, and I was approved to donate. They just like check to see if you're on any medications that would not be allowed, and if you are a regular drinker, if you smoke marijuana, anything like that. So I was approved to donate. So we just started putting my donor number on the bags, and my name, and just, your regular like ounces and time. And then for me, donating it, it's about 3 hours to the closest drop-off location.
Wow.
So I had to like save it up for a while before I knew I was going somewhere. And then I took it in the winter so that it stayed frozen, and traveled the 3 hours and dropped it off at the women's hospital. And then, they take it and pasteurize it and do all the things and give it to NICU babies. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also donated through a Facebook page called Human Milk for Human Babies. And it's basically just you find someone and they take your milk. There's no process really. People in there kind of are looking for milk because they had an early baby and their milk didn't come in, or they just aren't producing enough and they really want breast milk, or people post in there if they have some type of sick baby of some sort. And so I donated a few hundred ounces through there. And then a girl in town here was having twins via surrogacy. And I gave her 200 ounces because she wasn't going to have any breast milk. Her surrogate actually did end up pumping and giving her a bunch, but she had some off the bat from me as well. So I did that. I think in total it was 16 liters to the milk bank, and then 600 ounces just donated privately.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is unbelievable. Did you realize that you were going to have too much milk? Like, did you speak to your doctor about this and said, I'm concerned that I'm overproducing? Were you ever worried about how much milk you were producing and what effect that could have on you?
I didn't. I was like, oh, this is great. So I just kept on keeping on and putting it all in the freezer. And the milk bank took it up to 12 months old. So I just sent it all there.
Unbelievable. So now there is kind of there's not a huge gap of time between your singleton and your twinies. Did you stop breastfeeding during that time, or did you continuously breastfeed until you got pregnant with the twins and all through your pregnancy? God bless you.
No, I stopped at 11 months with my daughter. We were trying to have another baby, and we started trying it when she was 6 months old. And my doctor wouldn't really help me until I was done breastfeeding because I wasn't getting a period. And so then we stopped at 11 months, and then we were able to start trying with some help to get pregnant with the boys. And it took us 16 months to get pregnant with these guys. And then, so there's a 2.5-year gap between them.
Wow. So, which is still having the 3 under 3, right? So you're right there to have kind of this big giant brood. Now, when you had the twinnies, did you know that you wanted to have kind of the same breastfeeding experience as you had the first time around?
Yeah, I was fairly confident that I would have enough milk. I wasn't exactly sure how much I would need. I felt like I had enough for 2 the first time. And so this time I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And so I started tandem nursing the day we got home from the hospital, from the NICU. And I kind of just had to make it work. I remember getting home that day, and my fiance was bathing our daughter, and they were both hungry. And I'm like, I just need to figure this out. So I'm sitting in my recliner and kind of just made it work. And from there, we just have continued. I don't always tandem nurse them still, probably 50% of the time. Okay. But sometimes it's nice just to bond with the one of them, and it's less heavy on my back. And but when I'm really full and they're really hungry, I always tandem nurse them still.
That's great. So now they're 7.5 months. You're still going strong with your nursing, and you realize that you're going to have more milk once again. When did you start realizing that you had even more than just for the twinnies?
Well, I started pumping extra on top of after they went to bed. So I pump at 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. They go to bed at 7, and then they don't wake up until 4 or 5 in the morning. So we're going away for our wedding in December, and I knew I would need some milk for them. So I just figured that pumping at 10 and 2 would be a good idea to start getting some freezer stash, because I only had about 10 bags in the freezer. And it very quickly accumulated. I was getting about 20 ounces every night just from pumping at 10 and 2. So I then realized that I'm obviously not going to use all of this just for my wedding. So I'm going to be donating whatever is left after. And right now I think I'm at about 600 ounces in the freezer. We took it to my fiance's work because our freezer is too full. Wow. So we will. I'm going to probably just donate locally again. I'm on thyroid medication now. I don't know if that's allowed with the milk bank, and it's just so far. So I think I'm just going to post in that human milk for human babies this time. Each bag, I brick them into Ziploc bags with 10 bags in them. It's about 50 ounces. And I'll use one of those per day that we're gone for our wedding. So I will still have 400 ounces at this point to give away. And I'm kind of scared to stop pumping at night. Like I could,
Yeah.
but I want my supply to keep up during the day. So I don't want to stop pumping at night. And the engorgement feeling is just terrible. So
Yeah. It's really, really tough. I mean, you've definitely gotten yourself into a good situation and bad situation at the same time, because you're still going to have to get up. I mean, you certainly could start weaning yourself at night if you wanted to, and then your supply would diminish, but then you wouldn't necessarily have as much to donate. When do you think that the donating your milk gives you like an added bonus, because clearly you have it, you made enough? Like, is it feeding your soul?
yeah, I really enjoy doing it. When we were in the NICU, we did use some express breast milk from donations. So that was nice to like know it's getting used, and just having NICU babies ourselves, like knowing it's, there for them if they need it.
Yeah. It's really, really good. All right, Brittany, sit tight for 1 second. We're going to come back and I want to ask Brittany about how she kind of built up her supply. So stay right there. So I got to ask, like, how you got to this point with having the supply. So I know that you said that you're doing your pumps at 10 and 2. And then for the rest of the day, you're just feeding them either tandem or one at a time. Do you think that there's anything that you're doing different than somebody? Like, are you taking extra supplements, or are you drinking fancy teas or eating amazing cookies? Like, so many people try so hard to build up their supply. Do you think that there's something that you did that might benefit somebody else?
Yeah, so I drink at least 2 liters of water a day, and I find that to be one of my biggest things. If I'm not drinking or eating enough, my supply is like, in that evening pump, I can see, I'm only producing 3 ounces per boob instead of 5. So that's a huge thing. And I have a 2-liter water bottle that I fill up every morning. And if I don't, I know that I'm not as good at getting that water intake in. Like if I'm like, oh, I'll fill it up later, it's just not. I just don't get my water in. So I make sure I fill that up first thing in the morning. I actually am on a prescribed medication called domperidone that my doctor gave me at around 8 weeks when the boys were cluster feeding and I was struggling to produce enough, I felt like. And so I've just continued taking it because I'm scared to go off of it in case I lose my supply. And then I take fenugreek. And I know some say that fenugreek can make you dry up, but for me, it's been good. And then the biggest food staple I find that really helps is oats. So whether it be like oatmeal or baked oats, or blending them up, putting them in a waffle, or oatmeal cookies. I know it's not the healthiest, but you can make healthy ones.
Sure, absolutely.
And yeah, just like I crave protein, so I eat a lot of protein. You need to eat enough because your body needs to be able to produce that milk from some type of calories. So if you're not eating enough for yourself alone, then you're not going to produce enough milk. And I know the biggest thing for people after having a baby is, oh, I want to lose all this weight. But for like, if you want to breastfeed, then sometimes the two of those don't go hand in hand, and you need to, focus a little more on producing milk. I used to drink like fruit smoothies in the morning with my daughter, and my nutritionist / personal trainer that I had back in the day, he told me instead of milk in my smoothies to use cream because I needed those extra calories. And as weird as that sounds, it's a lot more calories, and so it's helping. You just need so many more calories when you're breastfeeding. So I think that's a huge thing people underestimate. And some studies will tell you, oh, it doesn't matter how much food and water you have, but I truly believe it does, because where else is that, fat and liquid going to come from?
So with that in your thoughts, like, how much of a focus do you put on that every day? Like, are you sure to have that smoothie every day? If you don't have that water, do you notice that the fat content in your frozen milk is different? Do you keep track of these things each day, or you just kind of, it's such a part of your routine that you just do it automatically, or you still like very like militant about the things that you're doing?
I just find that like my meals need to include like a carb, a protein, and sometimes a vegetable. Most of the time a vegetable, but sometimes at lunchtime I don't always get a vegetable. I just try to include all the food groups and make sure I'm eating every few hours, like not just a breakfast, lunch, supper. I need to eat like every few hours, whether it be like a banana muffin or, you know, a mango or something like that. I'm not much into the smoothies this time around, but last time I was, and last time I ate a lot of eggs, and this time I didn't. They made the boys gassy, so I haven't this time, but I just need to, like, just period, I need to make sure I'm eating enough and every few hours. So that's just, I need to be conscious that, I haven't eaten in a while, so eat something filling. And then water, I just basically have an emotional support water bottle. It comes everywhere with me. And if it looks like I haven't drank enough by noon, I just take a big chug.
Yeah, I think people really do undervalue the importance of hydration. It's like so simple, like, right. It's so crazy, Brittany, but like people forget that you need fluid, right? Fluid is coming out. So we need that. Now, are you worried about that if you stop the overnight feeds that you're not going to have enough for them during the day? Like, do you trust your body? So you don't trust your body. So you think that you're going to just breastfeed the same way that you're doing until you're done breastfeeding?
I think so. Yeah. I'm worried that my day feeds won't be enough. And so I think I'll continue even just once a night. Like sometimes if I stay up later, I'll pump at 11 and then I won't pump at 2. Just that extra hour. And then if they wake up around 4, then it's not too long. But this morning they slept right from 11, or went to bed at 7, but I pumped at 11 and they slept until 6. So I was very engorged this morning and it's not a good feeling.
Yeah, it's really not. With the engorgement, have you had any issues of mastitis?
I haven't. I didn't last time either. I was very fortunate that way. I haven't had any cracked nipples or mastitis. I did have a blocked duct at the start of this breastfeeding journey with the boys. I put one of those hot rice bags on it at night and took hot showers and it went away. But I have never had mastitis. I learned at the start that like you need to empty yourself every single feed. Like don't let yourself have any extra. So like if you're nursing one baby and you're nursing on one boob and just leaving the other boob, like that's not great. Yeah. And I know that's super common, but with my singleton, I always use the Haka.
Yeah. Which is something so simple to use. It's like, not mechanical and you don't have to worry about it being charged and everything. So yeah, and we'll put links to what a Haka is and stuff below so you guys could see exactly what Brittany's talking about if you guys don't know. Now, have you worked with a lactation consultant at all ever, either with your daughter or with the twins?
In the hospital, when the boys were born, and we had the same one actually because we birthed at the same place, and she was great. This time it was easy; like the latch was no problem for both the boys, which I was surprised since they were preemies. Yeah, but with Aria, she helped and she was great, and she gave us the nipple shield and away we went. But that was it.
How many weeks were the boys when they were born?
35 and 6.
35. So that's still pretty far though. 35 and 6. That's really great. That's unbelievable. I think it's such an empowering thing to do, to realize that your body can make this food and you have enough for everybody, and now you're giving it back. Do you try to find like twin families to give it to, or preemie families to give it to, or you're like, whoever wants it, come and pick it up?
Yeah, just whoever wants it, really. Doesn't really bother me as long as it's getting put to good use. Yeah, I mean, I would probably like to see it go to the last time preemie family was one of them. One was a twin family. One was just a regular singleton. So it doesn't really matter.
Now, are you doing anything to your skin to make sure that, it's going to bounce back from this after breastfeeding for so long? Do you have any worries that, physically that you will be different or look different, or, because a lot of times people do, it's just a fact of life, but then there's people who use creams every day and worry less about stretch marks and things like that. Do you have any issues where you're worried about that?
Not so much. My stretch marks have all gone away, actually. I used bio oil throughout my pregnancy, and near the end was when they really got like the dark red and bad, but they kind of just all faded after, maybe 10, 16 weeks. They slowly went away as my stomach retracted. Now I don't really use anything. Yeah. I go to the gym, so my skin is tightening, but I don't use anything special. No.
Well, I was thinking more for like your actual breasts. Like if you're used to breastfeeding so much, like if you're there's people who worry like, oh my gosh, am I going to look like something out of a textbook? And so people do get nervous about that. Have you thought about what that's going to be like? Or like, that's what I mean about the oils and creams, because I don't know if there is something that could actually help the elasticity.
I would really like a boob job, if we're being honest, but it probably won't happen. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I never really had big boobs prior to breastfeeding, so I feel like they'll just go back to small, like they did between the 2 pregnancies. Haven't really thought about them, like, because I've never had big boobs to like have them be saggy or anything. So I haven't put any thought into that. Maybe I should, but I mean, I can just hope that one day maybe I'll get a boob job.
There's so many, like when you use a certain part of your body so much, right? I mean, this is like the Olympics of breastfeeding is basically what you're in. And so you're like at the top of your game. So for me, I'm like, have you thought about it? Which it's neither here nor there. There obviously is no right answer, but some people, like, you may say, oh no, definitely, like definitely after, this is my game plan. I'm going to, breastfeed forever. I love this. Now there's 7.5 months. Are you going to go the 11 months? Are you going to go longer? What do you think you're going to do this round?
I'm going to go till 12. So the year, because they'll go to daycare at a year old. So then they'll be cut off.
And that's it. And then how did you wean the first time? Like, how was that process? And do you think that it's going to be any different this time around?
I kind of just did cold turkey. I read some like pros and cons to like slowly weaning off the feedings and not. But yeah, we kind of just did cold turkey. I was very engorged for a few days. Had some hot showers and it was very painful, but she was fine. She went onto a bottle, no problem. And we just used a mixture of frozen breast milk and 2% milk, and then we went right to milk as soon as she was at daycare. So
do you ever think about like, okay, we're going to stop at 12, but then you're going to use your own stash for your own kids? Like, have you thought about that?
I've thought about it. But when they go to daycare, I find that I just don't want to be like a pain in the butt for them. It's just easier for them to give them like 2% milk or whatever, Homo milk at daycare, than it is to like thaw the breast milk and say you have to use this within a certain amount of time and warming it up and stuff. I would find that confusing for them. I don't know how many people do that.
I don't know either. But like when they come home from school, like, would you consider using all the breast milk that you had for them at home?
Maybe, but it's also a lot of work. I'd rather just give it to babies who actually need it when they're just young and fragile. Whereas these guys are healthy and
it's so admirable. It really, really is. I mean, I know that here in the States, it's not as easy to get donor milk unless it's through a direct, friend or family member or somebody that but it is a lot more challenging to get donor milk.
Yeah, I bet. It's definitely hard to come by unless you find the right people around here.
Oh, but that's so great. And I love this Facebook group that I'm definitely Human Milk for Human Babies, I think is awesome.
It's super handy.
I'm going to go look that up. Now, if you have more children or when you have more children, don't know what the plan is, but do you think that you would do this again?
We are not having more children. We have cut that, snipped that line already. So we are done.
So that was it. So now your family is complete. But let's say like when your daughter's big, do you think that this is something that you would encourage her to do for all the rewards that you've received, even emotionally, from, having this milk and donating it?
Yes, like I'll tell her about it, but I'm not gonna push it on her by any means. Breastfeeding is not easy, and whatever she wants to do is whatever, fine with me, obviously. It's her own journey.
You are a great mama, and you're a great twin mama, and you're a great woman. And I think that this is great. People are going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh, I could try it. But this is not a common story, which is why I got so excited. And, while there are overproducers, right? You have plenty of people who are overproducers. It's very rare that somebody would be so selfless with everything that they are overproducing. And on behalf of every family that you've ever helped, I'm thankful for you. Do you ever get to meet those families? Like, do you become friends with the people that you donate, or have you had any contact with those babies that you were able to provide food for?
Three of them are local, and then one of them's from about an hour and a half away. The group is sorry, I just need to find a soother here. The group is for our province, so it's like the Human Milk for Human Babies is Saskatchewan, and there's an Alberta one. So it all just depends on like where you donate it to. So the twin mom from town here I donated a couple of 100 ounces to her. Wow. And then a couple 100 ounces to a singleton mom here. So they're both in town, and see those babies all the time.
That is so great. Brittany, I cannot take another second of your time. These babies need you. And I'm so thankful that you chose to give us the time that you have. So for those of you that are listening, if you have questions for me or Brittany, just email us at community@twiniversity.com. And we have tons of breastfeeding resources for your twinies over at Twiniversity, of course. And Brittany, just sincerely, thank you very, very, very much for giving us your time and for helping so many families in local area and beyond. Thank you so much, Brittany.
No problem.